In the previous video, we got introduced to wool, how useful it is, and which animals can be used as its source. Now let's have a look at how the animals are reared and how wool is exactly obtained from them. Let us understand the method of obtaining fibers from the animal fleece. Let's take the sheep as a single reference animal for understanding the entire process. Sheep, found in cold habitat, are reared on a large scale for wool production. These animals are herbivores, which means they feed only on plants. Now, how is wool exactly taken from these animals? Imagine having to make a wig out of hair. For this, we collect the hair samples by cutting them and then process the hair further. Similarly, the fleece is taken from these animals by shaving it from their skin and then processed further. There are predominantly 6 simple steps that we need to keep in mind for understanding how fibers are obtained from the animal fleece. These include shearing, scouring, sorting, separating, dyeing, and straightening. Let's begin with the first step, that is shearing. It literally means removal of the fleece from the animal's body. Just like humans cut their hair or the way Dad shaves his beard, the fleece from these animals is stripped off. Does this cause a lot of pain? Imagine Dad shaving and he accidentally moves. In this case, the blade may scratch him. However, generally speaking, shaving does not cause any pain. Similarly, if the wool is taken out carefully from the body, then the animals are not troubled. The next step in the list is scouring. Now the animals are free. This step onwards, we do not involve them again. We just focus on the fleece that's obtained. Now, if any new object is brought home, what do we do first before using it? If possible, we usually wash it to remove any contamination present in it. Similarly, the fleece is washed thoroughly in this step. Huge tanks are employed into which all the fleece is added and washed. This is done to remove any kind of impurity like dirt or dust. Now the clean material is collected and taken for the next step, which is sorting. Why do we need to sort it? Fleece is fleece, right? So what kind of sorting is needed here? Sorting is done to separate extremely small and the larger fragments. So size is the parameter that separates the material obtained. Now this material is all set to leave for the factory where it can be processed further. Once it reaches the factory, the material is separated from the burrs first. What are burrs? These are nothing but the extremely tiny dry seed-like structures that adhere to the wool. Animals usually have dried fruit or seed-like structures which are hooked onto their skin. This remains attached to the fleece even after it's thoroughly washed, which is why it needs to be removed before processing. So separation of burrs completes the cleaning activity of the material. Now the material is all set to be drawn into long filaments. Just like the other natural fibers, even these threads are drawn into long strands which are fibers. So are we done with all the steps? Are we all set to use these fibers and make yarn? Not yet. We need to color these fibers first. Dyeing is the next step in the list. We add vibrant colors to these fibers. The colorful fibers can then be drawn into yarns. This brings us to the last step, straightening. The fibers are straightened, combed, and rolled with the help of machines. Ultimately, that stretches the threads further and the yarn is formed. These yarns can then be woven into various fabrics that have several uses. Right from sweaters, blankets to even rugs, the yarn can be beautifully knitted into useful products. This was about the first type of natural fiber that we obtain from animal source, wool. Next, let's talk about another important type of fiber, silk.